what's our relationship with money? And when you talk about savings, how do we save? Our guest is here to take us through it. She understands matters of savings and finances. Gathiuni-Onyemaechi is our guest. Christine, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana.
Yes. Happy to be here.
This is where we fix the nation one conversation at a time.
Right.
So we said it's saving and what?
Sort your problems.
save some money and then save yourself some troubles.
Some troubles.
Yes.
And I was asking earlier, why am I saving trouble? I want to get rid of the trouble now. But Jano quote is going to welcome you with the day's quote.
Yes.
She'll tell you some words that were said by somebody a long time ago.
All right.
And let's see if they make sense to you today.
It makes sense. I see what you did there. Would you like some water as well, by the way?
Yes,
okay.
Please.
So as we bring the water in, we'll just go to the quote. Kwame Nkrumah, who obviously was the first president, prime minister of Ghana in 1957, he said, "Unity is the first requisite for progress, and unity cannot be built on discrimination." What do you take from that?
Progress is a mindset, I want to say, because even as we talk about savings, it stems from our mindset. It stems from how we were socialized growing up, what sort of household it was. So I would say in Kenya, versus a lot of Southern Africa, we do better with saving. So it's not so bad. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's encouraging.
That is encouraging. Yeah.
We always assume the worst. Are we a savings nation? Eric just listed a whole
all those statistics
and platforms. But generally, are we good at saving as Kenyans?
I think we were better maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, but because of the high cost of living and people running into so much debt, so our savings culture is getting weaker, and people are just finding that they just want to be gratified with whatever they need right now. We are a very impatient generation, so the savings culture is going down. Yeah.
Christine.
Yes, sir.
What is saving? What is saving? Most basic, we assume that we are talking about the same thing. Eh?
True.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say saving?
Saving just means from any income that you receive that you're able to set aside what you're not spending, in very basic terms.
After spending what I need to spend, what I'm left with?
Yes, setting that aside, putting it away.
Or is it putting it away before I start spending?
Ideally, it should be before, but for most of us, we do it after.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I have this kind of money and I have all these kind of needs and I spend money and then I'm left with some money, you call that saving?
No, you have to put it in a vehicle, a savings vehicle, SACCO, like you mentioned, savings account, unit trust, very many. But yes, it has to be put in.
And it has to move away from me.
It has to move away, and you shouldn't have access to it.
What's the biggest lie we've been sold about saving in Kenya?
Actually, it's that we should just keep it in cash. That's a big one because you'll obviously be tempted to use it once it's in cash. That's why I said it should be out of your access. That's a big one. The other one is that nobody is saving. So when we hear that nobody is saving, I also feel like, okay, I'm with everybody else who's not saving. Yeah, that's a big one.
That's a dangerous one.
It is. It really is.
Because then you're not even making a decision based on your needs.
Yes.
It's based on what's out there.
Yes.
But somebody can say, I'm barely making any income. Like, where do I even start? I think that's one of the bigger excuses, quote unquote, because some of it is valid. And even as you started, you say just based on my economic times.
Exactly.
So how do you speak to people right now listening and watching? They're saying, what am I saving? Like, I'm barely making ends meet. What do you say to them?
Like I said earlier about the mindset, a savings has to lead to a goal that has to do with your own personal goals. So if you don't tie it to your goals, then you'll never ever be motivated to save. So whatever that goal is, whether it's next month's rent, whether it's food on the table, whether it's school fees, it's about tying that intention to the goal, because that is what will keep you motivated. Yeah.
Okay.
So now let's talk about the possibilities of saving, because what Janet has alluded to is that for a lot of people, saving is not a possibility because they're either not making anything or they're making very little, and it's just enough.
Not making enough for the daily needs.
Yes. So then when should you start to save? What's the correct place? And a lot of people will say,
how much is enough?
How much is enough to start saving? A lot of people will say whatever you make, save. But the reality for a lot of people is it's not enough to even meet basics.
Yes. So basics is, if you've never started saving, is, before you even spend, just try and set aside 10% of your income. And I talk about percentages because it applies to everyone, right? It's not about the amount. So if you're just starting out, start with 10%. And then savings, I should also say, should not really be in a place where it's not earning much interest, because otherwise it's just going to be beaten by inflation and how the currency devalues. So the idea is to move it towards something that is earning high interest, not just a normal bank account, for example. So 10% of whatever you make, put it aside.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if I'm not making anything? That's number one. Number two, or what I'm making is unpredictable. This month, I could be rolling in money. Next month, next 2 months, nothing.
So what happens with inconsistent income is you can kind of project what sort of needs you have over 6 months. So you can prorate it backwards and say, okay, if I have these needs for 6 months, how do I make a sixth, of that to put aside for the needs per month, right? So you can do that over the year. You can always just set aside what you need for the next 6 months. And then to your earlier question about if you're not making enough, it's about going back to the drawing board and seeing, okay, what can I monetize? Do I have a skill I could sell? Do I have a network that I could monetize? Because sometimes we can actually make money just from connecting people. So I would say look at other ways of making income. Yeah.
Is there a saving habit that you can speak to that you think is helpful and one that you think is hurting people?
Okay. I don't think any of them are hurtful. In Kenya, we really do well with the chamas. Chamas, we champion them. You've heard, I'm sure, so many success stories. So when you're in a community or in a group, that really, really helps because they also keep you accountable as well. So I would say that helps a lot, being in a group or even just friends, encourage each other to save. Even if it's an informal social group. Right? So being in groups that have a goal to save and invest for the future will definitely encourage. I don't think I would say any really hurts, but that really, really helps to be in a group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there things that are considered savings but are not?
That's a good one. I think if you just put your money in the bank account, normal bank account, that's not really a savings because your money is being hit by inflation. I think Eric mentioned something to do with 7% or 6%. So our currency is being hit by that kind of inflation every year, and sometimes it goes above 10%. So a bank account isn't really a savings. You need to put it in probably a unit trust or any other fund that is growing. Right? Yes. So we look at these things as savings, but if they're not earning high interest, then they're not really savings.
Okay.
Yes.
And high interest, I was going to ask, what's the line? Is it as long as it's outpacing inflation?
That's the goal. Okay. That's the goal. Outpace inflation. Look at the charges, because some of these investments out there are quite expensive. So when you have an investment that is charging you 7 and 8%, that means you need to be making at least 16% to also beat inflation.
Yeah, and their charges.
And their charges.
It's too much work. It's just too much
He's
work.
Stressed. You've asked that from a point of concern.
No, for real.
Yeah.
Now listen, so you're making money here. You've got all these needs, all right? Mtoto shule, rent, landlord, nini, chakula, this and the other, right? Black tax, so on and so forth, okay? And then you start by first taking a 10% aside.
Yes, sir.
Then these are 90%. You're trying to see how best you can use this 90%.
Exactly.
Because already umetoa.
10.
Okay?
Yes.
Then now this 10.
But sorry, carry
I
on.
thought this 10% was that covered.
It's 10% for typing.
I am putting it aside.
Go on. You were breaking it
And
down.
once I get the interest, I'll give type. Now, from this 10%, you're telling me, I start now looking at, okay, inflation, how much? These ones, how much are they going to give me? I put this money here. I need to start calculating 6 months ahead. It's too much work, Christine. Can somebody do this work for me?
Of course. The market is huge for financial advisors. We are all there. We are all there for you
Not all
at
of them
any
are.
level. Any level. Yes, we have levels from, people who are earning less than 10,000 a month. Yes, we can serve you. All the way to millions per month. So you can meet us and we'll help you out.
How do I know the right one? Because there are many. Go onto social media, you'll find everybody now creating content on social media, and they're financial advisors. You weka pesa hapa. Some of them are just basically promoting Ponzi's. Right?
True.
How do I know the right place?
The beauty is these days we have so much free advice and free content, and we have YouTube University of legitimate advisors who will give you this information for free, even if you're in other countries, because some of these standards, it applies wherever you are, right? Some of these processes. So I would say do your own due diligence, because, ideally look for an advisor who is charging you rather than someone who's earning a commission from whatever they recommend. Because when they are charging you, they are more impartial, right? Whereas when it's a commission-based advisor, they will always direct you to invest in something where they're going to earn a high commission.
You know what's something that's very common in this country is groupthink, eh? And just looking at your neighbor, at your friend. It's basically word of mouth.
Yes.
So word of mouth is where I'm seeing so and so tulikuwa na biashara naye hapa na amejenga nyumba. Tulikuwa na biashara naye hapa na amepandisha apartment. So I'm thinking, whatever they've done, I want to do the here, try tested, right?
Yes.
That's one. Another one is, so, guys here have joined this chama and they're saying it's good, it's working. Is there anything wrong with just that? Communal thinking.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. But always look behind the scenes. This friend of yours could be getting, some kind of kickback somewhere else, or could even have inherited some money. So sometimes it's not good to compare yourself in terms of their progress, and just stay in your lane. So that's just to speak to the earlier
in the same
example.
Lane. Christine, we are both in the same lane here. Tunauza kwa soko pamoja.
Okay.
Christine amepandisha nyumba, anapata rent. Mimi, I'm still struggling. And Christine swears, hii mama ni kujipanga, mimi na saving hapa. Mimi naekanga tu pesa kidogo.
Does it go back to the mindset that you talked about?
It goes to the mindset. It also goes to the different life circumstances. This same friend of yours might be doing this exact same business, but maybe they don't have as much black tax like you pay. Maybe they don't have family and friends who have medical needs that you're also supporting. So just look at your own life and, try your best in your own circumstances.
Make informed decisions.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line between saving, investing, and living in the now?
Okay.
Or is it more of a planning thing? But how would you advise?
Okay. So, everything has to be set out at the beginning. So even the enjoyment, the entertainment, the fun things, you plan for them, you budget for them, you put them down, so that you don't have to, hold yourself back to the level where when you now finally want to enjoy, you want to take everything out, enjoy, because you're like, okay, I've been saving for all these years. So the idea is, put it all out at the beginning, the fun things that you want. Those are part of your financial goals. And then for saving, like I said, it should always lead to investing. Because what it is you create a portfolio, and then you grow a portfolio. Then later on in life, you protect that portfolio. So that's how it works. So yes, so the saving should always lead to an investment that is either earning interest or just growing in value. Yeah.
So there's something about that nexus Jano was trying to draw, which is that there's a kind of, I don't want to call it a loss of hope, but somewhat in how we're supposed to grow financially, especially for young people. And there's, the idea that you save, you invest, you grow, doesn't seem to be holding true for a lot of people. So it's like, I'm going to eat it now because there's no guarantee of of tomorrow.
Yes.
And I mean that in every way
I
possible.
understand.
Yes. Let's be realistic about that, because then people are like, genuinely, I don't have a guarantee, but also, if tomorrow is there, if walisema dunia inaisha August 2nd, if August 3rd comes,
Maybe we can.
Sorry. If August 3rd comes, you need to have been prepared.
Yeah.
So what's, again, that balance beyond now just planning and saying, this is for enjoyment, this is for my future, this is that?
For younger people, I always go back to what are the things you really like and enjoy? What are the things you want to do for fun? You know, and you don't have to look deep, like way into the future. It could be 2 years away. You want to go on a fun holiday or a fun trip somewhere. So I also advise them to tie that desire to the savings. Because when you're young, you have all these fun things you want to do and you want to plan with your friends. So tie it to now those fun things. Then you won't be thinking about, you know, the world is ending tomorrow or whatever. You'll be actually looking forward to that amazing plan that you have that is fun for you, but also requires some money.
Right, to the car, to the holiday, to the nice thing you want to get yourself.
Yes, could be to watch, you know, a football match live somewhere. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm having my biggest challenge with savings and investment conversations is I see how they work for especially salaried people or people who have somewhat stable income.
Yes.
But then I really just, I know for a lot of others, and 80% of our economy is informal.
Exactly.
How to make it real for them. Non-earners, and then the 80% of people who are in the economy. But I think this one has to start from a place of there's something. So let's just deal with now 80% of people who are in the informal sector in one way or the other. Today there's money, tomorrow there isn't, all of that. Yes, and you said project your needs, yes?
Yes.
But that also requires very clear, you know, not goals, but very clear bills, very clear. Some things are very unpredictable. Yeah, focus, but also just having a predictable routine, knowing that I'll need this next month. Okay, fine. Rent, food, transport,
the
fine.
basics.
Then there's everything else that comes with life.
So with inconsistent income, and like you said, most people aren't salaried. They still have needs that are standard and recurring, like rent, like school fees. So those are things you can predict, right? And because you can predict those things, you just have to work towards them, even if your income is inconsistent, because you know you need that shelter. You know you need to pay school fees, you need food. So those things you just have to probably do bulk. If it's shopping, maybe you have to try and do bulk shopping when you do have the income. You have to probably pay your rent ahead when you do get, you know. So it's still based on predicting those recurring expenses that you have, and then just doing your best with every single. Some people get paid daily, right? And some people get paid monthly or even once a year, twice a year. So you can still look at that income and say, okay, in the next 6 months, I'm going to need X amount. So I just need to pretend this money isn't there and put it aside because that need is going to come up. Yeah.
I think about how, and I wonder whether you've encountered somebody, because I think if you're saving towards a goal, but your savings are not in tandem with the goal. Have you ever had to tell somebody, oh, let's revisit your goals?
Exactly.
Let's
Like, hiyo tano itanunua gari.
I know.
Way cooler too.
And
Because I hear people say, you know, you're like,
and yet maybe there's a magic, because I think about goals I had years back when the economy was kinda, at least for a season.
Yeah.
And there was possibilities. I'm not saying there are none now, but I know I've had to shift some goals, just some. And yeah, you have to just have a very real conversation with yourself and say, okay, this makes more sense. Is it still going to give you at some point passive income, etc.? Will it at some point ever lead to financial freedom? I don't know. Longer journey, maybe when you're a grandmother, I don't know. But I wonder how then you talk to people.
Yes.
Because maybe there's somebody who's part of the conversation now. They have these goals that make them feel good, that inspire them. But how do people need to revise their goals based on what they're making and what they're saving?
So the first thing is, if you have a goal, say in 10 years, so the best way is to work backwards and say, okay, that's 120 months, right? It's a finite number. So when you look at your goals that way, then you actually have to look at it like every time I delay, I'm losing another month. Now it's 115 months, you know. Now it's less than 90 months. So we revise. And for some, it means if you're employed, for example, it means you have to work longer. It means you have to change maybe your lifestyle in a way. Maybe you have to reduce one or two things. Maybe you have to move away from the city. Some of these are hard decisions. But you do have to have like a meeting with yourself and come to terms with what you need to do.
Reminds me of a meme. It goes, if the money you have cannot solve the problems you have,
Eat that money. Eat that money. That's actually where that started.
Eat it as you think about how to solve your problem. Have you ever had that encounter with somebody and sat down with them? Take us through what that experience was like, whether they were open to it or whether they're like, no, my goal is still Range Rover in 10 months.
I mean, you just have to paint a realistic picture. You know, you show them their net worth, you show them their income, you show them in fact, what really works is when somebody sees the amount of money they've made like the last 5 years and what they've not done with it. You know, that just gives you a reality check. And then again, if they still want to continue, you just tell them, okay, this is where you'll be 3 years from now, you know, in reality. You know, if things don't change, this is where you'll be. So you just have to paint those pictures with first their past income and what they've not done, and then just tell them where they'll be.
And extrapolate the future.
Exactly.
Okay. I think of the purposes of savings as well, because you said, you know what, savings should be going into an investment.
Yes.
But is that for all? Because sometimes some is for like a cushion, you know, emergency funds, things like that. Aside from if they're not going into investments, what else could they be doing for you?
An emergency fund is an investment. It's just the different vehicles we use for these things. But all these, once you put it in any kind of fund, it is an investment. Because an investment is just where it's an asset, either it grows in value or it earns you an interest. So any of those are investments.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I can't, see, that's another thing is like, I can't call it a savings if I'm like a paranoid person who puts money under the mattress in 2025 and that's my emergency fund.
Yeah.
I can't call that a saving?
Not really, because what if your house floods or someone steals the money, you know? It has to be out of your access and in a safe place. Yeah, so under the mattress isn't really safe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking through it because, you know, it's the old school idea of squaring something away, you know, like a child with a piggy bank.
Yes.
Parents put everything, their passports, leaving certificate. Under the mattress was a treasure trove. If anything happened, it was a problem. Paul Mainastaki Mapepe says the best places to save is MMFs, treasury bonds, fixed deposits account, the best SACCOs. Before you choose, shop for the best. How do you respond to that?
I want to say that it also depends on your risk appetite, because not all savings vehicles suit your goals and suit your expectations. So first, do a risk assessment online. I mean, these are free tests you can do. It will guide you on what kind of investment appetite you have. And then you can go for those options he's mentioned, or even others. There are very, very many options. So everyone is an individual and everyone has their own risk appetite. So you really don't need to compare yourself to other people. Just do your own risk assessment and then base your choices on that. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. That's a good. Do you wish the school system did more?
Definitely. If we had financial literacy in schools, it would really grow us in so many ways. We'd have far more successful young entrepreneurs. I mean, it would just be a different economy. Yeah.
I was going to ask how we secure our savings, because you've spoken to, you know, the insecurity of under the mattress. But then I'm like, okay, I could put it in the SACCO, and then the SACCO could invest in Cusco, and then Cusco could have a scandal, and then now I don't have dividends, and then. See where I'm going.
Yeah. So, of course, that's the homework Eric was trying not to have over here. That's the homework we have to do. Or we just hand over and delegate it to a financial advisor who, you know, will do this work for you for a fee. They'll be able to do the due diligence, find out what's happening behind the scenes with those SACCOs or those banks or those funds or those equities, and then give you the advice. Because, like I said, with there are so many options from 100 shillings of savings that we really don't have an excuse not to know where to put the money, because their options are there and there are safe options, very many safe options. So we just need to do the homework.
All right. Is there such a thing as a diversified savings portfolio?
Of course, that's ideal. Okay, we are talking about saving to invest. So I would say a diversified investment portfolio. So you have investments in different sectors, different even markets. And then that way they're not correlated. So when one may be failing, the others could be doing well. Yes.
What is a non-negotiable for you when it comes to saving? Maybe you've spoken to some of them, but what do you always lead with as a non-negotiable?
In terms of?
Just savings culture, habit, saving patterns. If you're asked what is that one non-negotiable that you can speak to when it comes to savings, what would it be?
I would say the first thing is to just track your expenses, right? Then that will help you understand what sort of habits, because you've mentioned habits, it'll help you understand your habits. And then that foundational step of the 10%, that should be non-negotiable. Because it's a percentage, it's not an amount. So no one has an excuse to say, okay, I only earn 5,000 shillings, so I don't have 10%. So those two things. First, understand how you spend, and then begin with the 10%.
But I have a little bit of a pushback on that. If I'm making 5,000 shillings a month, 10% of that is 500 bob.
Yes.
Someone who's making 500,000 shillings a month, 10% of that is 50K. The difference that the 500 bob does for someone earning 5,000 is a lot more than what the 50K does for the 500,000 shilling earner.
It really depends.
So should it really be across a 10% across the board is my question. Okay, but go on.
It really depends. But as you know, high income earners have better opportunities and options. So obviously, that's the case. We can't really change that. But with the 500 shillings, we have businesses that we can start with 200 shillings and 300 shillings. So they
come again.
We have them. I do a lot of work in the informal centers as well, in the rural areas as well, in the slums as well. So these are the things we propose. So we give options for that 300 shilling savings and what you can do to start a business with it. Yes.
Do you have some case studies that you can tell us, without, of course, diverging a lot of detail, on somebody who came to you and they had zero financial literacy and zero understanding of saving, but they wanted something better for themselves?
Yes.
And then how they actually went and achieved something?
So I can talk about debt, because let's be honest, like a lot of us are in debt in Kenya. So I have had individuals who come to me, they're severely in debt, high interest debts. Some of them are daily interest debts. So what happens is, the first thing we do, we take a step back and look at if they have several debts, we look at the highest interest debts and we prioritize paying off those ones. And then sometimes it involves selling off your prized possessions, right? It's a process. I want to say it's a process to come out of debt and finally be able to invest. So I've had individuals be in deep debt, let's say tens of millions, and they've had to move back to shags, for a season. But in that process, we are also looking at increasing their passive income. So like I said, monetizing a skill, being able to sell something they do naturally or an experience they already have. And then because of that, they're able to have an additional income even as they sell off, even as they pay off. And they finally, like with this particular couple, after 3 years, they were actually out of debt. Yeah, through that process. So I want to say it's like a marathon. You just have to be patient with yourself and be honest with yourself. And then, of course, there are those moments where peer pressure is telling you should be here and you're missing this kind of fun, but you just have to push through it until you're able to.
Right.
Yeah.
Shindigity says something that I was kind of thinking about. He says, I like living in the moment. I'm not scared of hardship. Hardship defines you. But he's speaking to our different money personalities,
yes,
the way we interact with it.
Yes.
Even that, I think, feeds into how we save and everything. So again, for people who may I'm trying to figure out, do we curate some of these rules and some of to people's different money personalities? Because it's a very structured way of doing things, but not everybody thinks and operates like that.
True. And the creatives are very different. I work with creatives, so I totally understand. And I'm also a creative on the other side of me. So what I want to say is that living in the moment, what are the other things that person wants to do to live in the moment at another moment in time, right? There are people that he admires, who he probably wants to be like. So he needs to look at that person and say, okay, this person is, a celebrity or whatever it is, but how did they get there? There's a process. So I always say, look to those people you admire, you're following on social media, and then see, okay, I want to live in the moment, but there are other greater moments I want to have in my life. This is not it. Yeah, so just to look into those kind of things.
I like that. I've watched a few younger people, and sometimes I'm like, okay, so it's two different groups. There's younger people who are moving out of the city, and older people who are realizing I have to move out of the city. But I like that I see some of them. There's one who has a YouTube channel, and she just said, after going through all the stress of working in the city, she just sat with her husband and said, must we live in Nairobi?
Yeah.
And they moved.
And now
fresh air, but also
like
financially.
a third of the rent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now
A
she
compound.
said, a compound.
Yeah.
And there's footage of her son playing with chickens. Like, she's saying it's not just a reset financially, it's a reset also on our outlook on what we define as success. So I think some people are having that introspection, which is very healthy. You'd rather do that than be forced to later be like, what? I need to go.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's a good culture. I'm starting to see people not being afraid to say, I'm going to Shags. It's Shags. It's okay. It's home.
It's home.
And I'll have a compound and I'll have a bit more time freedom. So that's been inspiring to see.
Na internet iko kila mahali.
Like, internet is everywhere. We'll take a look at what's happening before we come back and say bye to Christine. Your world, love beyond boundaries. What makes a strong marriage? And today Mwikali is going to be the host. The poster is on your screens. She has a few experts who will be weighing in on love beyond boundaries. Boundaries is two-pronged. Is it? No, never mind. The overthinker in me. I went to borders, but it's boundaries, but it's also personal boundaries. I'm sorry.
Maybe another conversation we can have next is one on predatory lending.
Yes.
Yes.
And I wanted to say last word with Eric Latif is also happening tonight. He'll be joined by his other co-hosts. So make sure you tune in tonight, 9:30, 10 p.m. 9:30 p.m. On NTV.
Yes.
That's right. For the last word. Can't wait for the hot buttons today. But of course, we have to love you and leave you. Thank you so much to Christine for taking time, and of course for educating us. Part 2 tutafanya lending, predatory lending especially.
I'm so ready.
All right. So we're leaving you in the capable hands of Mwikali on your world, and of course on Nation FM with Brian Aseli and Claudia Naisabwa. The Vibe Shift 96.3 is where you can find us in Nairobi, or ntvkenya.co.ke/Nation FM. Tupatane kesho asubuhi for Wednesday Wars Day.
War and wisdom.
War and wisdom. The God of War and wisdom. You are Wednesday. Tupatane kesho.